Hello and welcome everyone to Salesforce Women in Tech Group Kolkata. We are here with part 3 of Salesforce Lightning Flows workshop. A very quick introduction about me. My name is Khyati Mehta. I am a proud Salesforce marketing champion. I was recently featured on Salesforce blog for my outreach work. Professionally, I work as a Salesforce developer at Cognizant Technology Solutions. I am a community speaker, a trailhead mentor. I also have a blog running named as All About Salesforce, and I run a podcast in India named Salesforce Orbits with Khyati. We are running certain contests today, so all you need to do is tag WIT Kolkata, Salesforce Admins, Khyatu, and Amit Singh, and also use hashtags with Kolkata and with flows. You can post about anything that you like or dislike about the workshop, and don't forget to tag us and use the hashtags. So, the agenda of this workshop is this 5-day workshop will include topics about flows with detailed demos wherever applicable. The workshop is planned in exercise manner so that it helps trailblazers understand everything from scratch about flows. We have the gurus of flows to cover the exercises and offer their guidance. What makes this flow workshop stand out is that we will be covering more of demos than of slides so that everyone can understand what's happening inside. So today we have none other than Amit Singh. Uh, I am sure everyone knows him. He is a Salesforce MVP. He is also the creator of the famous YouTube channel SFDC Panther. He is also Lightning Champion and Analytics Champion. He is working as CTO at his own company, TechFuge India. He's also 17x Salesforce certified. Not wasting much of the time, over to you, Amit.
Thanks, Kat. Thanks for the lovely introduction and thank you for having me. I won't waste much time. Just give me a second. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know once you all can see.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. And thank you for all of you giving us your precious time. And this Saturday, we know that weekend is kind of busy and it's for personal time. So as Kathy said that this series is going to be a 5-day workshop, and this is the third day that I'm going to take you through. There are a few scenarios that I have taken for this series, and we'll talk about the scenarios, we'll talk about the approach, and then we will implement together. If you want, you can follow me. Otherwise, I believe the recording has already been started and will be shared in WIT Kolkata YouTube channel. So, as Khyati has already given introduction about me, my name is Amit Singh, and that's how I do look. And I'm a Salesforce MVP. My working hours usually starts at 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. This is the working hours that I usually do. If you want to connect with me professionally, you can connect me over Twitter. Handle it can be either Cloudy Amit or SFDC_Panther. Or if you want to connect with me over LinkedIn, you can just go ahead and search for Simply Amit. That's my LinkedIn handle, and you can easily uh, connect with me over there. And I'm also a founder of SFDC Panther. This is a YouTube channel as well as a blog post as well. So this is the agenda we'll talk about before we start. There is one thing that we will talk is when to use before trigger and when to use after trigger flows, because in these scenarios we'll develop one screen flow at the part of scenario one, and then we will develop two record trigger flows. So before we will start actual scenarios, we'll talk about when to use which flow actually before and after say flow. And then we have three scenarios that we will cover over here. At the end, we have one assignment, and I would like everyone, if you want to complete, please go ahead and do the hands-on by your own. And then you can have question and answer. Even if you want, you have any questions, please feel free to put down into the chat window. And after every scenario, once we are done with the scenario implementation, I will take the questions if you have any questions, so that the session will be interactive. So before we go ahead and actually start our workshop, there is a safe harbor statement. Both the speaker and the host are not organizing like are organizing the meetups at our own individual capacity. We are not promoting or we are not representing our companies here. We are not making any statement like if we say that there could be a feature which is coming in either coming releases, that is just under that comes under safe harbor statement that feature may come or may not come. So whatever the decision you make, whatever the solution you are proposing to your problem, you will be responsible for that. So that's what our safe harbor statement says. So the very first thing that we have is we have when to use which flows. Okay, so we know that this is very important to know when to use which flow. Either there are two types of flows: before trigger and after trigger. So whenever you are creating a flow, that can be of any as object. It can be a custom or a standard object, like account, or lead, or opportunities, users, email message. These are some of the objects, and there could be a custom object like a student, or you have some invoice line item. This kind of object can be come here as a part of, and then you have to ask few questions to yourself. Do you need to create, update, delete, or yeah, if you need to create, update, delete the related records? If the answer is yes, you will be going with the after save flow. If the answer is no, then you will ask again a question to your, do you need to send any email? It can be some notification email, it can be a welcome email, or it can be survey emails to your customers. If the answer is again yes, then you will be going with the after save flow. If say no, then again ask a question to yourself, and do you want to do a chatter post? If the answer is yes, then go with the after save flow. Otherwise, you will need to use before save flows. So this is just a simple flow that I have developed for actually knowing which flow we need to use, either before or after. So, and we will be applying this concept while we will be working with our scenarios. So we'll get to know how effective is this. So now let's talk about scenario number one. This is going to be a screen flow where we are going to develop a screen. Okay, we are going to develop a screen which will be displaying the input screen for creating the student record. This is going to be our custom object, which is already there set up by me. There are four attributes. I will show you what all attributes are there. So we will be using that flow just to take the input from the user and then at the end create the record for that student. And then at the end, for the success screen, we are also going to display the URL to the newly created record as well as the success message. As part of this scenario, what all we are going to cover is we will see how we can use a rich text area component, which is going to be our custom Lightning Web component. We will be developing this. And if you are an admin, there are many things to set up the VS Code components for creating the Lightning Web components. We will not cover that part, but we will give you basically the steps in the links. We will share the links where you can go and set up the VS Code. So you will see how to create a Lightning Web component, how we can use that inside our flow. Then we will see how we can validate the inputs. There can be scenarios where we wanted to validate the inputs, and then how we are going to communicate between flow as well as our LWC and vice versa. And then we will talk about this showcase and existing component. We'll talk at the end of our session if that basically the time permits for us. Okay, so this is what we are going to have for our scenario number one. There is no approach. We'll definitely going to see how we are going to do that. So the very first thing that we will do here is we will create a Lightning Web component. To create the Lightning Web component, you all need to install VS Code, SFDX CLI, and there are a few extensions that you need to install. We will share the steps, so you don't need to worry about that. For now, I'll just go ahead and create a Lightning Web component. So this is my VS Code. I've already did set up whatever is required. So we'll just go ahead and search for Lightning Web component. I'll create it and I'll name it as rich text LWC. This is my component. And once this component is created, this is the JavaScript file for that component, and there is HTML file. Here we are going to use our rich text component. Before we go ahead and add this, you might be wondering why we need to use rich text component, right? So I'll show you here in our flow, right? There is basically no, yep, this is the students. Okay, if we go ahead and click on new, This is the about me field is basically the rich text area field. Okay. And as of now, currently Flow doesn't support rich text area field as an input. So if you want to take an input, which is a rich text area, we have to go with the custom solution. So there are two solutions. Either we can use the complete Lightning Web Component or Aura components for the UI, or if you're using the flows, we can use Lightning Component or Lightning Web Component as a sub component inside that flow and have that rich text area component as an input. That is why we are creating this LWC for taking rich text input. Okay. So here we have got, and I'll just copy this code I have got. I'll explain you what exactly it has. So we have got placeholder, right? This is the placeholder that will be displayed here as an input part here. We say that type your text here, or we can say that describe yourself. It can be anything, okay? So let's say that I'm saying type your text here. This is what we have got. For value, for now, let's say that we have nothing, or we can say, okay, this is a blank value, or let's say that Salesforce developer. Label visible. This is the attribute which tells you either your label is going to be visible or not. We will see what exactly the label is. So for label, let's say that for now, I'm going to say that it is about me. Required field, let's say that it is a true. The value is required, and on change, we are going to remove for now. We will put that later on in the coming time. So this is our lightning rich text area input. Okay, we have got everything what we have. Now how this component will be visible in our flow. So to make sure that this component is visible, this is the meta file, which is JS meta file. We need to make sure that it is exposed. So when we say that is exposed, that means our component will be visible to the Lightning App Builder as well as to our Flow Builder. Now we have to tell in which scenario or in which target we want it to have. Okay. So to do that, we have some sort of targets that we need to define. So targets is a parent tag that we usually define, and then under that we have single targets. It can be multiple targets. What we need is basically, we only need one single target, which is Lightning Flow. Okay. Lightning Flow is screen. This is the target that we have. As soon as we provide this target to any Lightning component which is exposed, we will be able to see this component in our Flow Builder. And the latest API version is 53, so I'll change that. Now, if you wanted to put something else, say that you wanted to have master label. So we will have a master label over here, and we will say that this text component. And then if you wanted to provide some description to your API, you can also provide the description as well to your component. And as soon as you are done with this, we haven't done anything in the JavaScript. We will make sure that we are putting something else here while we are going through the demo. So we will just go ahead and deploy this. To deploy this, just right click on the file that you are in, and then deploy source to org. This is the command which comes with the help of an extension which is there in the VS Code. So this component is deployed to our org, and once it is deployed, we need to go to the setup, and then from setup search for flow, and then you will see flows under process automation. We have to select the flows so that we can select, and here in under this flows you will see all the flow which you have created for your org. These are some of the flows which came when I created the org. So these are not the custom flows. To create a flow, go ahead and click on new flow, and once you click on new flow, it will ask you what type of flow you wanted to create, either screen flow, record triggered flow, or there are three different type of other flows as well. So as we have talked about, this is going to be a screen where user can provide an input. So we will use a screen flow. Then we will click on next. It will ask what kind of layout you want. I usually prefer auto layout. So you can select, if you want manual, you can also select manual. The very first thing that we need is we need a screen where user can provide input. So to do that, just click on this plus icon and select a screen. And under this screen, you have to give the label. So you can say that student information. This is going to give you the API name. If you want to change the API name, you can change it, but make sure there are no spaces and no special characters allowed. Under this screen, we will have our own inputs. So for input, say that we have got the name, we need name field. Okay. So for that, we will have text field. We will say we've got this text. and we will say it is going to be the name field, and then here we will say either it is going to require or not. So say that it is going to be a required value, and then asterisk sign in a red color is going to appear here. Then what we need is we need email, and then after that we need phone. These are the three fields which are required at the student level. So for email, we already have this. We have to provide the API name, and then it is required or not. So for required, you will see here by default it says that false. We have to select true. This is a global constant. As soon as you select true, it will appear as a true. And then for phone as well, we have to make sure that it is required. Once it is required here, we will just go ahead and we will add our text area component. So to do that, you will see here we've got this rich text component, and then this is our component. This is the previous which I have created. So here what we will say is let's quickly make it is about me, and we will just go ahead and click on done. In the bottom, if you want to disable some screens like pause or previous, you can just go ahead and disable that. We will not do it here. Okay, there is one error phone. Okay, the API name is not provided, so we'll say here click on done, and this is for okay for now. We will just see the outcome and then we will come back. So we just go ahead and click on save, and we will say that as it is a screen flow, I'll use screen, and we'll say that create student record, and then from API name I will remove a screen. Why I'm using a screen over here? So that I can easily identify this is a screen flow. If you want to give the description, go ahead and then click on save. Once you have got your flow here, then click on debug, and then just run it. So now you can see here, this is our rich text area component, the value that we have provided there, and then we have got about me and phone, email, and name. Okay. Now this text area can be made dynamic, right? We can say that about me. It can be anything, right? We wanted to use anywhere in any other flows as well. We wanted to use somewhere inside Lightning Aura or Aura component or LWC component. So this is basically going to be our dynamic component. So how we can make it as a dynamic, right? So to make the dynamic, come back to your LWC. Okay. What all we need is, let's quickly, we need label. So we will create a variable called label. Okay. So this is going to be our label. And then we need a variable called placeholder, whatever the placeholder user needs. Then we need a variable called value, and then either it is required or not. And by default, we'll say it is a false. Okay. These are the four variables that we need that we can actually make as a dynamic, because if you see here, these are the four variables. Now, as we wanted to make sure these variables are accessible and we can provide the value from the flow, we have to make sure that we are making these variables annotated at API. When as soon as we make those any variable in the LWC component annotated with an API, that makes as public variable. Public variable can be accessible either from your flows or from your different parent component where we are using our LWC. Okay. Now we have prepared these API variables. Even if we have created this, if I go ahead and deploy this component, these variables will not be visible to flow in order to configure. So how these will be available there? To do that, we have to go to the component. Okay. Now we have to provide some configurations. So for that, we will use design attributes. Okay. In flow, in our Aura component, there is a design component that we use, and in our flow, this is the design attributes. Design attributes takes the targets. Okay, it can be multiple target configs. That's why it says that target configs like targets, and then you can define multiple target config. I say that my target is Lightning Flow screen. What all input I need is, there are four inputs that I'll be needing. One thing is, one variable is going to be required, and make sure that these variables that you are using as a name are available in your JavaScript and must be API annotated. Then you have placeholders. So let's quickly make as placeholder. Then you have value and label. Okay. So these are the four variables that you have. So we'll say that value and label. For required, it is Boolean. Okay, so we will say that, let's quickly say required. And then label here, we will say that, let's say instead of employee name, we will say that enter the placeholder. Default, we are not going to provide any value. Label is required. For value here, label, we will say that value to be passed to RT component. And then you have got, let's remove this default from here, and label here, we'll say that enter the label. Okay. These are the four values that we wanted to expose from our LWC to Flow Builder. Okay. There is one additional property here, which is role. That is only available whenever the target is Lightning Flow screen. The accepted value is input only and output only. And then if you don't provide, default is both. So we will say that, for example, placeholder is the value which is only available for input. When we say that input, that means whenever admin is developing a flow, we wanted to provide the placeholder, but after that we don't want it to have whatever the placeholder was. Similarly, for the required, and then for our label as well. For value, it can be both. They wanted to display some existing component, and they wanted to basically display some, they wanted to take the value. So it will be both. Vice versa, we wanted to send or we wanted to receive. That is why we won't provide any role to our value component. And then if you wanted to like take to the further label, you can also have say that edit mode or disable, like say that enable or disable. So you, if that is enabled, you can just display the simple component without edit. If enable, you say that okay, hide this component and then display the edit. I'll not take that much. So now we are here, we are done with this our configuration part. We'll just go ahead and save this. And this thing is not only for flow. If you have multiple targets, you can define this at a multiple target level. And then as soon as we are here, we will just refresh this screen. Oh, sorry, not this one. We have to refresh this screen. And then just go ahead and edit this screen element. And then rich text component. You can see here now you've got the label, you've got the placeholder, you've got either it is required or not, and then you have got whatever the value is there. So say that label, whatever you have, let's say that have yourself with the label and placeholder. You go ahead and save this. As soon as you save, it is going to be, you have to debug it again to see the outcome. Again, we haven't binded those values, so you will not see those values there in your component here. You can see here, those values are not here. The same values are there. The reason is in our HTML component, we haven't used those values. So now if you wanted to display these values to our component, we have to make sure that we are using those values over here. So use that, we will use curly braces, the variable name. We will do the same for all variables that we have. So now we have binded this. What we will do is we'll also bind one more thing, which we will say that, okay, let's say quickly on change. So whenever we are changing anything, okay, so we'll say handle change. Whenever we are typing anything in the input, we will say, go ahead and call a method called handle change, which is going to be our JavaScript method. And here what we will do is we'll just quickly, whatever the user has typed, we will assign that into our value attribute. So say that event dot target, it is going to mention our input rest text area, and whatever the value the user is typing, it will be assigned to the variable value so that we can access it back into our flow. Now we will just go ahead and deploy this. This is very simple. I hope everyone is getting. And we don't need to make any changes into the flow. If we refresh it and run the flow again, this time we will see that our values are here. So you see here, required is false. Describe yourself, whatever the placeholder is this. If I say that, hi, my name is Amit Singh, or you see here that placeholder is gone. Now again it is here. So if you click on finish, you will see there is error. You say that please enter some value, input is not an option. These are the required and this is not required. Okay. Even if I say, let's say whatever some value I provided here. And if I click on finish, it is going to say, okay, all done. We are done with this. What we will do is next we will again add one more screen here. We will say, let's quickly display whatever the user has input here. Okay. So we'll say that RT outcome, that means rich text area outcome. And then what we will have here is we'll say that display text. This display text works as a rich text area. Okay. So we will say that, say that about me here. And then what we will have is we'll say, okay, insert. This is our component which says that about me, rich text area component. Just click on this. You see what value is available, only value. Okay, we'll say, okay, this is going to be our value, whatever user will give us to us, and we will got here. Now we have to again debug it with the additional additional flow that we have basically. And here, whatever you provide here, and say that, hi, whatever you want here. If you want to format, let's say that you wanted to increase the font size, you wanted to do some sort of formatting there. Okay, anything you want, and you just click on next. So you see here, this is the value that we have got. And then if you click on finish, we'll be able to see that. One thing that is still pending is if I make this, if I make that input as a required, it is still not ask. You see here, okay, this is required. It is like that true, but we are not able to see as untrue. Let's quickly remove this and make sure this required is binded to our LWC component. Yep, this is binded. We'll be able to see that. One thing that we have to do is we must need to have a validation here if you wanted to validate some input. For that, what we have to do is we have to add one more method which is @API annotated, and it is a validate. This method is provided by Flow library. Okay. Now what you have to do is we have to make sure that we are validating, and if the component is valid, then we have to say, okay, uh, this is going to give us the error. If component is not valid, we will say that, okay, this is going to give the success message. So how we will do that? We are going to see here, this is the code. If this dot is required, that means, okay, it says that it has to be required. And we will say that if this dot value, then we will say that return require it will say that is valid. This is the this is something we need to return. I'll make sure that this is the one. Yeah, this is valid. Okay, this is what we have to return. If everything is valid, we will tell the flow that it is valid. If not, we will return something. We'll say that return is valid as a false, and then there should be one error message, and that error message is going to be say that whatever you have got field is required or something. Okay, your error message can be anything. I have got error message over here. This is like this. I will use this error message over here. I'll say this value is required. Now what we are doing is, as soon as user click on next or finish, this method is going to automatically invoked by Flow. There is no other supporting things that we have to do. We will check if this dot required. If say that if this is true, okay, and this dot value, it says that there is something in value. Okay, like Apex, we don't need to check if value is not null or something. There is something in this text area input. Okay, then we will return is valid as a true. Otherwise, we will return is valid as a false, and then we will also return the error message. We will go ahead and deploy this again, and once this is deployed, we will see the outcome. So we haven't made any changes in the flow, and we don't have to. So we'll just go ahead and run it again. It's not coming as a true. Okay, I think there is something happening behind the scene. I'll make sure that it is by default. It is. Let's make it as a true for now. There is because if I make it as a true, there is another way to make that as a required based on the JavaScript code. You might not be able to handle this, so I'll just skip this part as of now. I'm just making it as a explicitly as a required as a true. I have a code which actually makes this based on what input you provide, so you don't need to worry about that. I'll share that code with you. So you can see here it is required now, right? If you click on next, for now it is asking only for these three variables because these are the default inputs required, which are provided by flows. So we can have anything. And then if you click on next, oh, just give me a minute. For now, I'll just try it with directly returning a false to make sure that the code is running or not. Otherwise, I'll just show you my previous component, which is already there, because this is completely fine and I don't think there is wrong anything with this. And you don't need to worry about that. You can join the group WIT Kolkata and then we will see how basically we are going to resolve this issue. It says that unexpected token 40. Oops. Okay, now it is invoking basically. So there is something that is wrong with this. Okay, what I have to check, let's say that if I remove this line, which checks if there is any value or not, and we say, okay, we say if there is any value in this value component, by default there is nothing, it will be undefined. And then we'll say that, okay, its value is true, otherwise if value is not there, it value is false. It should work now. So you can see here, there is any error. If I say that, okay, my name is Amit Singh, and whatever, if I click on next, this time we should be able to go to the next screen. Okay, it says that there is something. Okay, Yep, you can see here, we are here now. And if you click on finish, we'll be able to do that. So basically that's how we actually provide the validation over there. Okay. Now the validation is done. What we have to do at the end, we have to insert the record. So what we will do is we'll just go ahead and click on select create record. And we will say that create a student record. What we need is we need only one record. We need separate values because we have separate values. I have got that student object. And what values I will provide is name, then it has email, then it has phone, and there is one value which is about me. For name, we have already that name component. You see here the text component will say that name. For email, we have this email. So you just need to select on that, and then you have got value. Similarly, you have to do the same for phone. You have got phone.value, and for about me, you have to use rest text area, which is about me. This is your component. And then what you have is value, and click on done. Now you have got this. You have, if there is any error, just go ahead and click on add a fault path and just go ahead and save it. Now what we have to do is, if there is any error, we have to display the error. And if there is no error, we have to display the success message. To do that, we'll just go ahead and add one more screen, and we will say that, okay, we have got success screen. And then here what we have to do is we'll use a display text. And this display text is going to say success message. What message you can say is record saved successfully. And if you wanted to make the changes, like if you wanted to have a green color, or you wanted to change the font size, whatever you want, it is going to do that for you. Okay. And then here, if you wanted to have something screen, say that, okay, you wanted to have some URL. When you click on that URL, user navigates to the newly created record. So to do that, first thing what we have to do is we need to understand how the record URL works. So if you see here, if I open this, so what it says that this is going to be same for all the records. And then it says that lightning or, and then it says that whatever the object is, the ID and view. Okay. If I remove this view and hit enter, it is again it's still going to take, okay, not view. If I say just copy this ID, remove everything and hit ID here, then again hit enter, you will see that it is going to take you to the student record, no matter which object it is. Okay, what ID is. Similarly, if you go to the account record, so this is your account. If you find this ID and say, okay, you've got account ID, it is going to take you to the account record. So what we need to do is we need to find this base URL that you already have. So how you will find that? For that, you have to create a formula field. So just click on new resource and select what is going to be type formula. I'll name as formula base URL. What data type? It is going to be text. And what value here it is going to have? It is going to have API. This is a global variable. And then you have, these are all the URLs. So if you wanted to use URL, you can use. But I have one URL which I usually use is partner server. I'll just copy that code I have with me. This is the actual URL that we need, is which gives you the base URL. I'll see here. Partner server URL 260 is your global variable. What it actually returns is it actually returns whatever your base URL is, and then it returns services. Okay. So what we are saying is, we're saying that remove this services and give us whatever we have. So that's what we say is here. We need the left. That's what we hear. We've seen this is the left part, and then forward slash services is the right part. Then we are removing this forward slash services from whatever the URL we have, and we will click on done. So we have got this formula. Now what we will do is we'll say, okay, go ahead, click on edit element, and we will say here, this is saved. Now what we will say is, we will say click here to view record. Okay. Now what we need to do is, you need to, first thing what you have to do is you need to find out the newly created record ID. How you will find that? Just hit enter, find here. What you will find is, you've got this create a student record, right? So you have got the student ID from create a student record. This is the variable. That's what you need. Okay. I think this is the one. This is the ID. Okay. Just copy that ID, then click whatever the content you want to make sure you want it to make as URL, double click that, and then click on this link you see here, and then paste it. And then what you have to use is you have to use your base URL. So you will say that FM base URL. Okay. I'm not sure if that is going to, and then just put /ID. Okay. So this is your formula. This is the ID. Click on done. You see here, this is now hyperlink, and click on done. If there is any error, you might want to display the error message to the user. So what error message you are going to display is, we will say, okay, go ahead, and we will say that error screen. Again, we will use display text, which is going to use to display the error message. So we'll say that error message. And we'll say that we've got flow. And then under this flow, there is a global variable called fault message. So this is the message you might want it to display in your red color. So we'll say that, okay, this is going to be whatever the error message is. Okay, click on done. To see the error, we will do one thing. We'll just go ahead and edit our screen, and for phone, we'll make sure that it is not required. We are not requiring here, but it is required at an object definition level. So it will throw the error. So we'll just go ahead and debug it again, and we'll get back to our student. And to make sure that phone is required, if you click new, you will see phone is required here. Now you've got this, just go ahead and run it, and I'll just provide whatever I have. I'm not providing anything, and I'll say that, okay, just something SFDC Panther, random thing. Okay, click on next. It says that, okay, you have got this value, and if you click on next, it will try to create a record, and we'll see error. You can see here, it says that the error occurred for flow tried to create a record field missing. Now what actually you need to display is, you want it to display this particular part. You don't want it to display at least this part to your end user, where they say that you can look up the exception code and all, right? So how you will do this, how you will remove this? To do this, again, you have to create a formula. Okay, and you will say you have got a formula, and you can say that formula error message, and then it is going to be again type text. Now again, we will use a formula which is already there. So this is the formula. We are using fault message. We say that, okay, find wherever this particular thing is there, and then remove that, and we need only left thing. Okay, and we'll go ahead and click on done. Now this time the error screen will display whatever the formula message is. So this time we will remove this, and we will say that, okay, FM formula based URL, sorry, error message. This is what we need. And this error message will automatically be calculated at runtime, so you don't need to worry. Go ahead and click on save. And once you click on save, we will just debug it. The phone is still blank. You can see here, now that part of error message is gone. Now if you wanted to remove this something, this the error occurred when flow tried to create a record. I think I'm sure this is not something which you are going to bother about if you are end user see it. If not, then you can modify your formula and remove this as well. You can find, and then you find this middle. Basically you have to use left, right. There are few formula functions that you might need to use. If you go to the previous, okay, and I'll say we are going to previous here. I will say whatever the email I have provided. Oh, let's quickly provide this time whatever we have got, and I'll say that, okay, founder of SFDC Panther. This is what I have got. This time I have provided everything this is required, so it will create. You see here now, if you hover over, you can see here there are two forward slash. If you see on the bottom, there are two forward slash, so it will throw an error while navigating to the record. But yeah, it is working fine. So it will navigate to flow student record and whatever the record we have. So basically that is the scenario number one, which was like using lightning components. Then it was throwing the error. Then it was giving us the URL, the end user URL, so that they can navigate to that URL. So Kathy, if you have any questions in the chat window, please feel free to throw out. Otherwise, we can move to the next.
Yes, we do have certain questions. The first is where else can we display flow apart from Aura and Lightning components?
Where else we can display flow apart from Aura and Lightning components? We can use inside communities.
Mhm.
We can use inside Lightning record pages, or we can use home pages, actions. There are actions use. You can use list views, not in list view. For list view, you have to use VA page. But yeah, you have communities. You have got record pages. You have got app pages, or you have got. I don't think if you can use under the tab, but you can use under utility bar as well.
How about Experience Cloud side?
Experience is basically the community.
Okay, perfect. So there is any way to enable more features for rich text area field used in LWC, like table, text color, text highlighter, or embedded media?
I think everything is there. If you
Okay.
see, right, if you see, let me show that flow. If you see, everything is there, even image, link, highlight, all methods are there. You don't need to worry about that. Rich text areas, that is what it's all about. So if you go there in the input, if you see, you've got image, you've got link, you've got all the formattings that you need, and this is what the rich text area is all about. I don't think there is any other format that you have. I think for table there is nothing that you might need to copy paste the table. If you copy paste, it will take that as it is.
Okay. The next question is, can we use text template resource for rich text area?
I don't think I understand the question.
Can we use text template resource for rich text area? So there is
Text
a
template.
resource as a text template, right? So can we use this for rich text area?
I think yeah, but I haven't used this as an input, so I'm not sure if we can use this. I believe this might be for outcome that we can use, but I'm not sure if we can use this as a input. But definitely I'll try this and see what we can do that. But I believe this is for the outcome that we can use somewhere.
Yeah. And the next question is, what is the difference in using LWC instead of text template for text area resource, which is already available in Flow itself?
Yeah, I think that's what we already covered in the previous question, right? That might be for outcome. Even I haven't used, so I cannot say what exactly it is. So I'll prefer to take it for after the session. I'll uh, see what it is, and then I'll give the answer. You can post it in your group, or you can email to all the attendees.
Sure. We are getting a lot of questions. Maybe we'll take it after your session.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was all about scenario number one. Okay, and then we have got scenario number two. What we are going to do is auto convert a lead when lead status is changed to qualified, lead rating is hot, lead source is partner referral, and lead owner is user. Okay, so these are the three prerequisite conditions that you have, and then this is the triggering condition for your trigger. This is going to be your record triggered flow. When we say that record triggered flow, that means it will either sit before or it will either sit after. Okay, we will apply that rule that we have learned before we started. So possible solutions are, we can use apex triggers, we can use record triggered flows. So what way we are going to do is we are going to use here a record triggered flows, and with the help of record triggered flows, what we are going to do is we are going to use invocable apex. Again, this is going to be a new concept and which makes flow more powerful. So before we go ahead, we will actually talk about what approach we are going to take here is, and then we will talk about what exactly the solution is going to be, what exactly the invocable apex is, what are its considerations, and how we are going to implement this. So this is basically the starting point of our flow. We know which flow we are going to use here. I have decided after save, I have put here, but if you ask your question what you want to perform either uh, say that you wanted to have some update, delete, or insert any related record. That is not the case. Then you will talk about you wanted to send an email alert. That is again not the case. But this is something, action, which can be your chatter post or it can be any apex actions. Whenever it talks about an action, then you will go with the after save flow. That's what we have here after say flow. On which object our flow is going to sit on? It is a lead object. Okay. Then what we will check here is we will check if lead status changed to qualified. If says that no, we are going to end our flow. We will not do anything. If say that okay, yeah, status has been changed to qualified, we will again put a condition. We will say that if the lead satisfy this condition where rating is hot, lead source is partner referral, and owner is user. If says that no, then again we are going to end the flow. If it says that yes, we will call our invocable apex. This is going to be our apex class, which we will be develop. Okay. Then we will say that okay, check if there is a success. Yes. Then end the flow. If not, then log the error message. As this is a record triggered flow, this comes as an auto launch flow. That means we cannot have any user intervention, and if there is no user intervention, we cannot display the errors. So we can only log the error message through the actions like chatter post notifications, or it can be say that you wanted to have some custom object where you are having some error logging mechanism. So that is what about how it is going to actually we are going to implement, what approach is going to be there. And then this is let's quickly talk about what invocable apex is. Okay, so invocable apex, or basically we say that a piece of apex code which provides extra functionality to your Salesforce flows. So if you combine your flow with your apex, that means flow plus invocable apex, that becomes more powerful, and it is like equivalent to replacing the apex triggers as well. Now like why I'm saying that equivalent to replacing the apex triggers, again, don't take it as a Salesforce statement. This is my personal statement, and I'm not making any statement. So whenever you are using trigger, wherever you are using trigger, like you are making call out, you can definitely use flows as well. You can use a feature, you can call an invocable method. From there you can make a feature call out. Okay, so every single thing you can do this. And there was one thing that was pending from Salesforce side, was ordering the flow, in which order the flow can be executed. We were not able to control that. Now in the coming release, which is going to be spring 22, that functionality is also coming. So that problem is also getting solved there. But again, this is still in safe harbor statement, so don't assume that it is going to come. And then invocable method is an annotation which we are going to use, that will identified by our flow. And there will be few, we will say that there will be few options, or some values that we have to provide. Okay, and then once we are providing those values, we will be able to see that method in our flow. We will see the example as well. So this is the example. Let's say that this is account insert action. Okay, this is our invocable action. First thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that a method that you are creating is annotated as @invocable method. It has few properties. One is label, which is required. Description and categories are optional. So label is something by which you will be searching your action in the flow. So if I say that insert accounts, so you will be searching your insert accounts, and you will see that this is your custom action that is there. Okay. Description is something that will be helpful for you as a developer or as an admin. And then category is where your action is going to display in a flow. You will be see, I'll show you where actually this category comes into the picture. And then there is one more property which says that call out, that can have a value of either true or false. That call out is used if you are making a call out from your invocable method, then you can make that property as a true or false. Okay. And then your method must be public or global, static in nature, and this must be a top of your class. What I'm saying here is, so these are the consideration of your methods. The first thing, your method must be static, and it can be your public or global, and it must be the outer class. So if you have classes, multiple classes, like you have one class and you have inner classes, so your method cannot be inside inner class. Only one method in a class can have invocable methods. So if you have multiple methods that you wanted to have, then you have to develop multiple classes. Then other annotations can't be used with invocable methods. So if you wanted to use other annotations like at the future or honor enable, you cannot use. These are the considerations that you have. Then there are few considerations related to input and output of your flow. Okay, sorry, not flow, your invocable method. So as an input or outcome, a list of primitive data types or a list of primitive data types. So this is a list, okay, and this is a list of list that can be provided. An object, generic objects are not supported. Generic object is itself an object, okay. So if you are a developer, you might have seen there is a class called object, which is a parent class for all the S objects. Like all the standard and custom objects comes under object, and then under S object, and then S object comes under generic object. So generic objects are not supported as an input or outcome, as an output for your invocable method. A generic list of S object, type list of S object, or a list of lists of S object. Like this is how you can provide as an input or output. And then your custom defined, you can have your user defined as well. You have some inner classes, you have some outer classes that you wanted to have as a user defined with the help of your invocable variable annotation that you can have. We will see if time permits. I'll tell you what exactly this custom defined or user defined data type is. Okay, so this is basically our scenario number 2. So we will start implementing this. So again, as there is a custom development involves, which is an Apex class. So we'll start with the Apex class. So this time we already have a class, okay, which is says that, okay, let me know if this is readable. Otherwise, I'll increase the font. Okay, I think now it is readable. So here we have a class which says that convert leads using flows. Okay, then we have got one method which says that, okay, invocable method, right? And then this method says label, it says that lead convert using Apex. This is a description. We will say that convert the lead record using Apex. It can be anything, any other description, whatever is best suited for your use case. And I'll say that category as a lead. So this method is going to we will see this method under our category as a lead. We will see what category is basically. Then this is a method which say that public static, it is not returning anything. This is the method lead assigned. Okay, it is going to be lead convert instead of assign. Then it accepts list of IDs. Okay, you cannot pass ID. This is what also one consideration is, you cannot pass ID. If you pass this ID, okay, let me try to save this. We will see the error. This is an invocable method. You can see here there is an error, and okay, it says that unsupported type ID. Like this is the second error that we are getting, loop must be iterated over collection. But the first error says that valid invocable parameter must be a type of list, like list of type T. Okay, that's what we have to say, it is going to be a list. There is one key thing as well that needs to be considered as whenever you are developing this method. I'll tell you here what exactly is. This is very, like, sometimes it is very confusing for the admins or developers. So whenever your invocable method, okay, I'll say that input parameters. Whenever your input parameter is a type of list of, say that list of T, okay, whatever it is, then what actually you can pass from your flow. Okay, so if you wanted to pass something from your flow, then it is, okay, what exactly, okay, it is equal, it is going to be ID. This is what you can pass from your flow. You cannot pass list of ID. If you wanted to pass list of IDs, what you have to do is you have to create list of ID in your method, and then it is going to be equivalent to list of ID. That's what you can pass from your flow. So this is your Apex method and this is your flow. So let me quickly put that as well. So we'll say that Apex input, and it is going to be flow input. Okay, so from flow you can only pass, if the Apex input contains this, from flow you can pass this. If your Apex input contains list of ID, then you can pass list of IDs. That's what you need to consider. But again, if you are writing the test class, then you have to pass the same. If it is a list of IDs, you have to pass list of IDs. Okay, then to convert a lead, you have to whenever we are converting, what happens, let's quickly see what exactly happens when you convert a lead. So if you see here, This is a lead, which is open lead, not converted. Okay. So the status is working contacted. If you click on convert and select convert status, okay, what will happen? It will basically create an account. You can select existing account as well. It will create a contact. It will create an opportunity. If you want, you cannot create an opportunity. Okay. And then if you click on done, okay, closed converted. So what happens basically? When you click on convert, it actually set the lead status as a converted. Okay. So if you see here, you've got these accounts, and this lead will be no longer visible here until unless you have permission for that. So you can see here there is no lead. So for that, what we are doing is we are saying that, okay, give us the lead status. There is an object called lead status, which contains all the status of your lead object. So we'll say that, okay, we will query the lead status. Where is converted is true. That means we only need the status which says that if I put that status as if I put that status for the lead will be converted. That's what you have seen. Closed is converted was the one of the status that we have seen in the drop down. You can have multiple status if you wanted to create new. You've got this, you store somewhere in a variable, and then you've got this list of IDs. You know, even you will be passing only one ID over here, but still for the safer side, I have run a for loop on every ID. It will always be one. Database.convert lead convert is a class which is responsible for converting a lead behind the scene. So whenever we wanted to convert the lead automatically, we have to use this class. We'll say that database.lead convert. This is an object. You can have lead convert or something else. Then this is new. I'm just instantiating and storing in a variable. Then we will say that lead ID, whatever the lead ID I'm getting from here. Then converted status. This is going to be the master label that we have fetched using our SOQL. And then lead convert status. This is basically this is a list because we are iterating with that particular thing. So we have to make sure that it is a list. And then we are making a convert lead is a method inside a class called database. So we are using database.convert lead, and then we are just storing a variable. It can be a success or it can be an error. If you don't want to create an opportunity, what you have to do is you have to say that lc.set do not create opportunity, and you have to set true. If you use this variable, then it will not create an opportunity. But if you want, you can create an opportunity. So I'll create an opportunity. Okay. There is no way you can prevent lead conversion. Like if you don't want to create a contact or account, or if you don't want to create a contact, you cannot do that using any of the standard methods. So this is all about our method that we have. Then we will go ahead and quickly create one more flow. This time it is going to be our auto launch flow. So we'll go ahead and click on new flow. We have already decided it is going to be record triggered flow. Go ahead and click on next. It will ask in which object you want it to have. So our object is basically, we will say it is going to be lead. So we'll select lead. What whenever the lead is updated, okay, it can be created as well. So you'll say that a record is created or updated, and then what condition you want. So let's say that if you want to specify all the conditions there here as well, so that rating equal to hot, okay, that's what we had. Then we had got source, lead source, okay, lead source equal to partner referral, and then owner. So we'll, if we go here, owner ID, and we will say that it starts with, and if 500 is the 3 unique character for the user, but I will make sure that it is correct. So just to get the user starting characters, I will find out the owner of this lead, which is admin. 005. Basically, this is the starting character, which is always unique for every object. So that's what I have put over here under the flow. We'll say that, okay, it is going to be 005. 500 is for case. So we have got this. Now what here, it says that when to run flow, every time a record is updated and meets the condition, or when only when a record is updated to meet the condition requirements. Okay, you can choose based on what you want. So I'll choose basically the first one. What I need is actions and related records, because I need to call an action which is Apex action. Click on done. So our start element is ready over here. Now what we have to do is we don't need to do anything. Just one condition that we need to check is that we will check using decision element. We will say that check if lead status is changed to qualified. So we'll say that decision lead status is changed to qualified. What I'll say here, I'll say that changed to qualified. How we will check here is we have got a record global variable which contains the current state of your lead, and then you have to check status. So we'll say that status equals, or we'll say that does not equals, so that record prior, which is going to hold the previous value of your status. You'll say that status. And one thing that you have to check is record status must be qualified. So we'll say that it is qualified, which is going to be there. Let me see here. Closed converted. We will add one status values. For now, let's quickly provide anything, maybe C. I'll add that value that's not there in okay. And we'll, for default, it will be default. Okay, just click on done. And before we go ahead, we will save it and we will say that it is going to be RT, and we'll say that auto convert lead. Sorry. Before I go ahead, I have to add the value in the lead object status field, which is qualified. So I'll just go ahead and click on select lead fields and relationships, lead status. Add one more, which is qualified. While you are adding your API, your values for the lead, you can select either it is going to represent a converted status or not. Okay. So this I'm not going to select because this is not going to represent converted status. We'll say that okay, click save. We have got this save. We have to refresh this page in order to get the correct value in our flow. So this time we'll just go ahead and click on edit element, and for this I will select qualified and click on done. Now if it is changed to qualified, I have to call an action. So I'll select action, and these are the categories. So what category we have selected? We have selected lead. So if you select lead here, you will see whatever you have got. So I've got lead convert using Apex, lead assignment using Apex. These are the two quick actions or two invocable actions that I have developed. So I will select lead convert using Apex. Okay. And then you see here, this is a variable which we have created in our Apex. So if you go here, this is the variable lead IDs. Then you have to say include it, and what value you wanted to send is you wanted to send that record.id, which is record ID. Okay, the lead ID, and click on done. Then if you have some error, you have to say that okay, add a default path, and if there is any error, you can say okay, go ahead and again add an action which is going to be post to chatter. This is my favorite action. And then what message you wanted to have, you can say that whatever the flow.fault message is there, whatever the error is, target related to the record ID, that is going to be lead ID. Just go ahead and give whatever is there and then click on done. So now what we have done is we have already defined all the condition at the start element, which are saying that lead should be lead rating must be hot, partner referral, and owner is user. And then we have got if status is changed to qualified. If that is the case, then we are converting using Apex. Otherwise, we are posting if there is any error, we are posting the error message. Now we must need to test this. So if you wanted to test this, we can say okay, go ahead and debug it. Record is updated. Then you have to select a lead. Okay, so say that we are selecting this Andy. As soon as you select this lead, it is basically going to give you the complete record fields. Okay, so we have to change the status. So instead of close converted, we will select it is going to be qualified. Okay, and say click on run. So you can see here, it says that, okay, there is nothing happens. Yep, because this condition has not met. So we'll say debug again. And this time we'll make sure that rating is hot. First thing, lead source is partner referral. Then rating is hot. And status is qualified. Run it. So you can see here how it is happening. This yellow line is telling us how our flow is performing. This condition are basically passing, and then this is coming over here and then ending the flow. If you want, you can just go ahead and activate this. This is our flow and young. I think this is the, okay, I have to, yeah, this is the lead that we have got. Then we've got qualified. As soon as we say that, okay, qualified, we'll say mark status as qualified and status change successfully. Email sends. Okay, I think if I refresh this page, okay, I think the conditions are basically not matching. You see your lead status is qualified, but all other conditions are not matching. So I'll just go ahead and open one more lead, which is unread. Okay, so see here we've got Bretty. This is the new lead for us. We'll make sure all the conditions are true there. So I'll just go ahead and edit this. Lead status is qualified, rating is hot, and then lead source is partner referral, and again owner is me, so it is always going to be the user. So just go ahead and click on save. So now you can see here the lead is closed, it is converted, and we are taking to the contact, which is Miss Betty Bayer. And then whatever all this is, if you go to the related, you can see here opportunities that is coming as a contact role. If you go here, see a American Banking Corporation is the account which has been created. So that is how basically your record trigger flow works. And if there is any error, your error is also going to be displayed over here. So this is all about scenario number 2. And I think the time is more. I have taken a lot time. So what is, like, everyone is saying, shall I move ahead, or we can just go ahead and wrap up here?
Okay, so we do have a lot of questions. So maybe let's cover that up first.
Yeah, I think that will be
Right?
good.
Okay, so people do want you to continue. So maybe let's take two questions and then you can continue with scenario three.
Okay.
Right? So what does even.prevent default is?
So basically, event.prevent default is a JavaScript function which prevents the default behavior for any event, whatever its default behavior is. For example, its default behavior is to navigate to a record. If you say that event.prevent default, it will not do that particular thing. So as a best practice, we usually prevent all the default behavior so that we can put our own behavior and perform whatever actions that we wanted to have.
Can we stop custom notification navigate to target ID?
Which custom notification?
Gopal, can you please confirm your question with custom notification? Okay, while the other question is, can we also check unique contact during lead conversion and display friendly message?
If you are using auto, I think whenever you are using auto convert lead, you can definitely check in the Apex. You can say whatever the, there must be a criteria like email or phone. If both are matching, then you will consider as it is a unique contact. So you can definitely set a contact ID there while you are converting a lead. I think there is a method, and then you can definitely skip that part for creating a record if you want. And if you want to display the message, I think you might need to use some sort of triggering mechanism on there, because then you have to throw the error. I'm not quite sure if you can display the error in the record trigger flow because there is no screen,
Okay, thank you.
but
So,
definitely you can prevent.
yeah, thank you. So let's cover up the scenario three quickly, and then we'll cover a few questions.
Okay, So basically, scenario number three is very important as a part of user creation. So whenever you are creating a user, okay, this is very headache. When you create a user, you have to assign a lot of permissions. You have to assign a lot of groups. For example, we are two users. Like say that Amit is a user, and then I wanted to create a user for Khyati with the same permission which I have. For example, I have 10 permission sets. I have 10 public groups. I have some permission set groups. I have some special teams that I wanted to be a part of. So these kind of things, if I create, it takes a lot of time, like approx between 30 to 1 hour. Okay, 30 minutes to 1 hour time. So for that, what we can have is we can have a setup, a flow. Okay, on the top of user, we will say that okay, there will be one checkbox which says that is cloned, and there will be one hierarchy lookup field which will be cloned from. Okay, this is going to be lookup to user, and then this is checkbox. So if this particular checkbox is true and this particular field is not blank, so what this particular will tell is, okay, this user, the new user which we are creating has been created from a user which is cloned from, and then we have to copy the permission set. For example, we are taking permission set. You can copy all the related records that you want, like permission set groups, public groups, or queues, all kind of things you can copy. But for a demo, we will only copy this permission set based on these two parameters on the user records. These two custom attributes are already created, and you don't need to, like, I will not create, but you have to create if you want. I'll show you these two are there. And then how we are going to approach here is we are going to approach again start after safe flow. We are going to use, the reason is this is going to be the related record for the user. Okay, we are going to insert permission set assignment. That is the junction object between user and permission set. So the object is going to be user. We will check if is cloned equal to true and cloned from is not equal to null. We will say, okay, if say that no, we will end the flow. If it says that yes, we will query all the permission set assignments related to the user cloned from, because this is the user based on which we wanted to assign the permission set. We will say if PSA found yes. If that is the case, we are going to iterate with all the PSAs. We say that has more, prepare the permission set assignment, and then iterate with this until unless you have been processed with all the permission set assignments. Then we will insert the PSA. If success, end the flow. If error, then go ahead and log the error message. That's what we are going to do. And this is again a very simple flow. And then this is the assignment. So we will just process with the implementation part. So there is nothing custom involvement here. So we'll just go ahead. First that I will show here is for the user object, I have created two attributes which are custom. So I'll find user here. So for the user, you will find there is one is cloned. Okay, this is the checkbox field. Then there is cloned from. This is the hierarchy field. Okay, in the user there is no lookup. There is a hierarchy field which acts as a lookup field. So what we will have is we will create one more flow here, and we will say this is going to be the record triggered flow, and we'll say that auto launch. Which object we will sit here? This time it is going to be user, and only when the user is created, the condition, if you want to have the entry condition over here, you can say okay, you say is cloned is true and cloned from, you say that is null false, and then is true. Okay, we have got both the records, related records and actions. We'll click on done. So we don't need to put any condition, we just need to go ahead and query the records. So how we will query the records? We will say that get records, and we will say that SQL all PSA related to cloned from user. Okay, and it is going to get record, and we'll say that PSH. Object is going to be permission set assignment. Condition here, it is going to be user. Okay, assignee ID is the permission. Assignee ID is a field which is actually the lookup to the user. So we'll say that assignee ID is equivalent to record ID. Okay, and then we are going to store all the records because it can have multiple permission set assignments, and click on done. This time, as per our approach, we will check if the record is found. So we'll say that, okay, check decision. So we'll say that check if PSA found. Okay, this is going to be decision. So we will say here, okay, this should not be there. And we will say, okay, PSA found. How we will check is this is going to be a list. So we'll say that list is null false. That means it's not null. We have some values. If found, if not, we will say, okay, end the flow. So we'll just go ahead and end it. If not, we will say, okay, iterate. For iterating, we have a loop. Okay. So we'll say that loop to PSA records. And then what variable we have? There is only one variable which says that get record PSH, and click on done. Now how it is going to loop is this is going to loop like this. Okay. So to do that, just go ahead and prepare a record. To prepare a record, what we have to do is we have to create two variables. One, which is going to be our permission set assignment. Second, which is going to hold all the permission sets, right? Because we will have multiple permission sets. So to make the DML, we will loop through one by one, add into a list, and then insert those records. So to do that, we will create two variables. So we'll say that let's create a variable, and we will say that where permission set assignment. Data type is going to be record. Object, we will select permission set assignment, and then we'll click on done. There will be one more, which is again going to be variables, and this time it is going to be variable permission set assignment list. Type is record. Permission set assignment allow multiple records because we want collection, and we'll set click on done. Then we have got this after each. We will use one assignment over here, and we will say that prepare permission set record. Okay, prepare PSA, and then what we have to do is we have to say, okay, this is the single record. Okay, we'll say that single record signee ID. So we've got this record ID. This is going to be user ID because we wanted to assign that permission set to the user. Then we will have one more, which is going to be which permission set we wanted to assign. So we will again find that variable. This is a record single variable. And then we will say that permission set ID. From where we will get? We will get this permission set ID from the permission set assignments that we have already queried. So we will say that, okay, there will be one variable which says that record single current item from the loop. We are looping, right? So we'll say, okay, go ahead and find permission set ID. That is what we have. And then click on done. Once you have prepared this, you have to add one more. Okay, so what you will do is you will add here, you will say that add PSA to list because we have to add that to the list. So to do that, we have got this list, sorry, not list. This is the list that we have got record collection where permission set assignment list. And then we have add, what we will add is we will add where permission set assignment, which is the single variable, and that is done. Once we are done, we are here after last statement. What we will do is we will say, okay, go ahead, create records. Okay, so what we will do is we will say that insert PSA, and it is going to be create record, and we'll say that PSA. We wanted to have multiple records. We have a collection. What collection is? The collection that we have prepared, and then we will click on done. If there is any error, you can add a fault path. You can again have a post to chatter, which is okay. Let me. Yep, we have got this action. We can search for post to chatter, and then you can post what particular, if you want, whatever it is, say that flow dot fault message. Okay, to whom you wanted to send post is, you can say that record dot again ID because the user is already created, and then click on done. Go ahead and click on save, and you will say that auto assign permission set user, and this is again a record triggered flow. So I'll say that RT, and then I'll remove RT from here and click on done. So now we have got our flow, which is ready. Okay, if you wanted to test it, let's quickly see if we can test it. Okay, it says that run immediately. We'll select user. We've got admin user. We'll click on done. It will not run because that conditions are not true. So again, just to test it, we will go ahead and click on activate. Now we have activated this. We have to create a user. So we'll just go ahead and create a user over here. So say here we've got user. So what user I will select here is I'll select Amit Singh, and then email, I can have whatever email I want. License, I'll select Salesforce. We'll select minimum access Salesforce. Role can be anything, whatever we want. It is active. If I scroll down, is cloned is a checkbox. Cloned from is a field which I have to provide. So I'll select admin user and then select don't generate the password. Click on save. So if our logic is true or logic is correct, the user will be saved and we will see that there will be permission set assignments. Okay, we don't see any permission set assignment which are assigned to this particular user. So there might be any error. So how we can check that error? Let's quickly debug this flow again. So say debug. This time instead of admin user, we will select Amit Singh. This is the new user because this contains all you can see here. Okay, this failed. Okay, there is failed. It says that invalid cross reference. You cannot assign or unassign a permission set because it is associated with the profile. There are few permission set which are associated with a particular profile. Post to chatter. Okay, that means this particular flow is failing because of permission set. So how we can exclude those permission set? For that, I have to go to the user, admin user, and then I have to first query all the users. Just allow me 2 to 5 minutes. I'll make sure that it is sorted out. This permission set has four. This user has four permission set. Okay, this is that these are some related to marketing cloud, and then it is related to password never expires. So I'll just go ahead, make a query on developer console, and we'll see under this user how many actual records are there. Whatever. Okay, this is the user ID. Okay, so basically there is one permission set which is related to profile, and how we can get the name, which is permission set name. This is the one. So we have to exclude the permission set which starts basically what is that x00e. So in our flow, what we will do is we'll go ahead, sorry, we will go ahead, save this new version. Yeah, we want new version, and then we will edit it. And in our query, right, we are querying here, so we'll edit it and we will say okay, permission set id. Okay, not id, it should be permission set. Let me come here, permission set id 005. Sorry, that is correct. This is permission set name. How I can exclude this? Okay, we can not here in the query we cannot exclude because we don't have that ability to filter here. So instead of filtering here, what we will have is, before preparing this, right, we will add one decision element. We will say that check if the permission set is not related to profile. And here what we'll say that not related to profile. What we will say here, We will loop, we'll go to the current iteration and we will say permission set. This time we'll go to the permission set. And then here we will say it is name, right? So we've got permission set name does not starts with. Okay, so we'll say that it starts with what is there x00e. So x00e. If this is not, we'll say that related to profile, and default is going to be not related to profile. Okay, so once it is not related to profile, now what we have to do is we have to move these two inside here. So to move that, what I'll do is instead of this, I'll just go ahead auto layout, and what happens? I think let's do that as well. Where is that decision? If related to profile, not related to profile. What is that? Let's now here what we have to do is we'll just go ahead, drag and drop, and we'll say if not related to profile. Okay, if not related to profile, then do all this, and if we say okay, go ahead and save it. Now I'll just, what happens, elements are not connected to start element. Which one is not connected? And then we can have some, okay, I don't see what is there. Element does not connect to start loop elements where this. Just let me add one action here, not resource. I'll go to the elements, I'll drag and drop action. I'll say that post to chatter. This is dummy action. And if it is not related to profile, save it. If I go to auto layout, it should work now. No. Okay, I think I think this is also okay for us. Sorry. So what we have done here is basically we say if the permissions is not related to profile, then only do all these things. Otherwise, just post to the chatter, which is basically a dummy action. Even if you want to remove, we can just go ahead and remove it. Now, if we go ahead and say, just go ahead and debug it with the help of the user that we have, admin user. Okay, so we'll say this is, sorry, not admin. We'll use Amit Singh and click on done. And this time you see here that yellow line, which is saying, okay, just come here and it says check if, oh, after that, there is nothing happens. Permissions or dot name starts with. This condition is not allowing us. Okay, I'll just go ahead, not debug, edit this. Sorry for this confusion. I'll just again check. Okay, PSA is valid. So this time basically I'm checking both, either the label or that particular label or name. If anyone starts with particular ID that we have got here in our query, which is XOOE, if that is the case, we are excluding those. We'll say that not valid. And if valid, then we will prepare the PSA. So for preparing the PSA, again, I have to delete this. So I'll just go ahead and quickly delete these. And then I'll prepare over here. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, assignment, and we will say prepare PSA. And we already know what we actually need to prepare. So I'll just go ahead. We have got permission and then assignee ID is the one. And then we have got permission and then permission set ID. So these are the two variables. There it is going to be user ID and then it is going to be from current iteration permission set ID. So this is what we have. And then if we have some sort of permission set group ID, that we can also have that. So we will say go ahead and click on done, and then we will say add PSA to list. Say that add PSA to list. And in which list we will add, we have got this list, add, and we will say variable permission set assignment. This is the variable. Now we are done. So if we just do this time we are validating this. I think in our previous version there was some error. This was not added. So we'll say, okay, if it is not valid, then it has to get back. This time we will check with the user. We'll click on run. So now you can see here that our flow is basically working with the correct. Okay, this is not, this hasn't went with this particular series. And then if you say that create PSA, there was nothing. For now, what I'll do is I'll just exclude it explicitly as a part of this, because now if I try to put this, okay, if I delete this, it should, okay, say not valid. Yep, delete, not valid. Oops. If I say valid, then delete. Okay, what I'll do is here in our query itself, we will add one thing. We'll say that permission set ID is not equal to this particular ID. We are just expliciting, like excluding is explicit because it is taking time to debug how we are going to actually do that. So we'll just go ahead and debug this, and for the user, select whatever it is there. Okay, now we are getting the error. It is saying fail to create record, and you cannot assign permission associated with the profile. So there is something basically related to this permission set, which is this is basically related to profile that comes with the profile, and we are able to create that, and that is why we are getting the error. So I'll not take much time on this. I think I'll start picking the question, and in the meantime I will debug this and see how we can get rid of this error. So I'm sorry for this technical glitch, and that happens when we prepare the live demo.
Absolutely true. That's really okay. But thank you so much for such an insightful session and taking so many use cases. Do you want me to read out the questions meanwhile?
Yeah, I think that will be good.
Yeah. So can we return something from invocable method in flow?
Yeah, we can definitely return.
Okay.
I I'll show it how you want. Okay, so let's say that for this lead, okay, for this as well, right? What you can return is again for the return, like for the input and output, right? You have to make sure that it is a type of list. It can be a type of any primitive, which is a string. It can be type of S object. It can be type of your class, but it cannot be a type of object. So suppose that if we are say that we are returning list of this particular whatever the convert result is. So we have to say, okay, use return statement and then put whatever the lead convert result is and just go ahead and deploy this. So now your flow will be able to see whatever the result. Okay, there is some error. It says that invocable method don't support this, so we cannot return this as well. So whatever you have, if you are getting success message, say that list of whatever we have got, list of strings, so we'll say that new list of string I have got, and then that I'm getting whatever the errors of what is. Let's say if that happens or it works, there is some error, right? So basically whatever is input, whatever the output, say that you want to send success, you want to send error, whatever you want, or if you have some custom class over here, say that you wanted to have a class which says that public class and say that input wrapper, or say that output wrapper, not input wrapper. And then you have some sort of variables here. Here you can have variables like say that you've got public, instead of string you have got say that status can be success, or say that you have got public error. Okay, so that message. And then what you have to do is you have to return list of this particular output wrapper. So you say that list of output wrapper, and then you have to return list of output wrapper. But you have to make sure that this is a output, whatever the output that you are returning is a type of list, but you can do that. Does not supports. You have to make sure that it has invocable variable values, but you can do that. Yeah.
Can you please explain hierarchy data type?
Hierarchy data type is basically a special data type which is only and only available for the user records to connect the user with multiple users. So if I wanted to connect one user to another user, we can connect that. Like manager, the manager field which is on the user object is actually the hierarchical data type. So if you see here, there is a manager field. This field is actually not lookup, but it is hierarchical data type, but it acts like a lookup relationship. This is only a special relationship available for user object only. It cannot be available for any other object.
Okay. The next question is wherever record is created, we need to send custom notification to community user. When we receive the custom notification, suppose I click on bell notification, it should not be navigating at any page. Is it possible?
When we click on bell, it should not navigate any. It is possible. I believe whenever you click on here, the bell, sorry, yeah. If you click on bell notification, and I think for a standard notification, it is navigating, but if it is a custom notification, I'm sure it will not navigate to anywhere.
Okay. The next question is when you make a field unique, it will throw error message saying there is duplicate. Can we display user friendly message through flows?
Through flows. No.
Okay. The next question is can you please explain how the formula exactly work?
The formula in flow or the formula field.
I suppose in flows because this was asked when you were talking about that.
So basically, whenever you create a formula here, right? This is like similar like a field. Whenever you are creating a field, the formula is derived from a different fields based on whatever the input is there. So whenever you are creating a field here in your flow, that works like the same. So for example, we are taking the formula here. This is not the flow, but we have created a formula, right? And then we have used some variables like global variables. So these variables are basically predefined variables which already have its own value. So what will happen at the runtime, it will have a value, so it will get whatever it has, it will prepare that, and it will hold whatever the variable that you have. So that you have got enterprise URL, right? So it will hold there. And when we talk about that error message, right, we have got flow.fault message. So this flow.fault message will return the value whenever there is any error. So this formula uh, will be calculated at the runtime. So whenever there is any error, for example, if we come here, then there is any error, right? When that error comes, that formula calculated at that time, and then whatever the outcome is there, it is going to display it, or it is going to use in a action or any error logging mechanism that you already have. So basically, it is a runtime and derived based on the input of a different variable. It can be your global variable like record or anything else, or it can be the variables that is already provided by Flow like API or Flow variables. I believe that is that
Yeah.
answers the question.
Yes. Thank you so much for taking such an insightful session. It was really helpful.